Welcome back to Full Spectrum Living with CBD. I am Meredith, your co-host, and I am here today with Jessica and Adrian, who are both with Bluegrass Hemp Oil. And today, we were just having a conversation before we started recording this, and we were talking about how many people are actually using CBD products versus how much it's now available across the country, and why people aren't really stepping into this as a solution, or why people are kind of freaked out or afraid to try these products. And that was something that you guys are both really passionate about. So Adrian, why do you think people are not necessarily jumping in with both feet?
Yeah, it's so crazy. So we've seen a couple of different articles, anywhere from 7% are only 7% of the population are taking CBD products, upwards to 20. So somewhere in between there is probably the right answer, but you're right. There's so many other people that aren't taking it. And there's a few things, I guess, Jessica and I, we kind of talk about this a lot, and we talk to customers all the time. And first thing, I think they're just kind of nervous. They're worried about the stigma, even though it has been around for a few years. I think they're still worried about, what's my family going to think? What are my kids going to think? My mom, my physician, my employer. We have consumers that probably still haven't told their doctor that they're taking our products, or actually talked with a woman today who said she told her son, but she hadn't told her daughter. So again, it's that nervousness of people thinking that they're doing something nefarious.
So do you think that that's like maybe just kind of a cultural, like the cultural aftermath of how, and just talking in the US, we've been taught and brought up that if you're sick, you go to the doctor and the doctor knows best and that they're going to give you what's best. But then you start looking at the statistics and it's like doctors aren't even educated around this, or nutrition, as well as you guys are.
I definitely think that's a huge factor. I think there's a lot of reefer madness stigma still hanging on, which is insane. But, we have people in their 50s, 60s, 70s who come in and they kind of get a little thrill out of their purchase there, because it's still, even though they know logically this is not an intoxicating product, this is a legal product, and it's great for health with almost no side effects, they still get this little jolt out of their purchase sometimes with us, like they're doing something taboo, and it's just leftovers from the reefer madness era, I think.
When you talk about physicians, I think it's very interesting. So, there are a lot of physicians that will shake their finger at you if you say, I don't want a flu shot. So much less you say, hey, I want to take this natural holistic product instead of the pharmaceutical, or instead of the pain meds. More and more physicians, are getting on board with it. So I don't want to throw them all under that same bus, but there still are quite a few that will absolutely not support CBD. So you can understand why consumers may be a little nervous in getting started.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then, you've got people like my father, who's a veteran, who I think it would be life-changing for him in many ways to take our product. And his fear is that he'll lose his veteran benefits by taking our product, even though we know that's not true. And we know that we have clients who take it with no issues through the VA and it's approved and all of that. He's still really concerned. So there's just a lot of leftover fear, I think, but we've been taught fear around the cannabis plant for a long time. So It's going to take a while to unteach that, I think.
Yeah, well, that's why we're here, though, right? That's what you are wanting to create with this show. So what other reasons do people have? So maybe there's a stigma around it, but what else is keeping people from giving it a shot?
I think a lot of people probably think it's snake oil, right? Too good to be true. There's probably, they may have tried a product and it didn't work for them. So they're just like, yeah, it's the next best thing. It'll be gone just as quickly as it got here. You always hear these new, whether it's new essential oils or celery juice or all these fads that, yes, are definitely beneficial in their own right. But to have that level of response that we're seeing from consumers and all of the studies that you can find on pubmed.gov with regards to cannabis and cannabinoids as a treatment, as a viable treatment for these conditions, it's a little different, right? So, I think that there's some snake oil to it.
So let me ask you something. So how long, sorry, Jessica, but just real quick, how long has CBD been utilized for the things that you see your customers and clients utilizing it for?
Well, so that's a great question. So the endocannabinoid system, and Jessica, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was discovered in the 90s. Yep, discovered in the 90s. And actually, CBD was actually isolated and found and discovered before THC was. Fun fact. So it's definitely been there, but a lot of the studies were focused on the THC aspect because of its intoxicating factor, right? That's what everybody wanted to figure out. So CBD kind of took maybe a back seat to it. So I'd say probably here more so within the last 20 years, what we've seen on PubMed.gov, which is the US Library of Medicine, there's over 24,000 studies done on cannabis and cannabinoids just within the last 20 years. That's over 3.5 studies per day. So when they talk about there's not enough studies to support the fact that, cannabis or cannabinoids are beneficial for this condition, that condition,
Sure.
I kind of call BS, to be perfectly honest. There may not be 25,000 studies on one particular condition, which may be what everybody wants, but there's definitely enough studies out there that are rooted in autoimmune or in inflammatory conditions that are, in my opinion, my professional opinion, definitely enough, right? For people to have some trust and some faith in quality products. That's the thing, in quality products.
And combined with like the information that does exist and the research that has been done, combined with the amount of anecdotal evidence that we're seeing now that so many people are taking, it's just really undeniable. I think where the snake oil thing comes into play is where it's maybe talked about in such a unrealistic frame, like it will do this and it will do that and it will fix every single thing. I think that's easy to fall into. Well, it must be snake oil because obviously that can't be true. And so I think it's a matter of reframing how we speak about it, because it could do all of those things. We don't know particularly if it will do every single thing for one person, although for some people it has so many different ways where you see benefit, but for others, it's one or two ways, and that's still great. So I think it's reframing how we speak about it as well, and the claims that are being made.
Right.
Well, I think that's where, they may have tried a product and, they may not be taking it today, but maybe they tried one. And it really, you have to look at, okay, so let's have a conversation about what product you tried. Where'd you get it? Was it bought on a convenience store shelf or via Amazon? Did you get it from a trusted source where you know who's cultivating your plants, where the plants came from? How was it extracted? There's so many questions that, again, when you go and buy a bottle of shampoo on the shelf, you don't ever have to ask yourself, right? You're just going to go, I'm going to buy it. I've seen the commercial. It's great. Or if it's a pharmaceutical, the physician prescribed it. I know it's been this, that, or whatever. So yeah, I know it's fine to take. With CBD, again, it is kind of the wild, wild west out there with products, but it really requires the consumer to kind of educate themselves on what it is. And then two, also give it a fair shake. There's a lot of people, again, I think we are struck with this Western pharmacopoeia where I'm going to take a pill and I'm going to feel better within an hour or two. And with CBD, the way that it works within our bodies, it doesn't necessarily act that way for everybody. Now, I personally take it for migraines, and I do see relief probably almost immediately in that sense. So from like a 15 to 20 minutes, which is fantastic. But I also take it for arthritis. It does not work the same way for my arthritis. So it's really giving it a true test, right? So Jessica, she always talks about Paige and how it took 2 months, I believe, Jess, 2 months for Paige to actually see the benefits of CBD.
2 really long months of us wondering.
Yeah, that's for your
because
sister.
at that time, like when we started her on CBD, it was 5 years ago, and no one was taking it hardly at that time. And so her psychiatrist was really concerned, and she called Child Protective Services on us. And of course, that was immediately dismissed because it's a legal product to give her. But I think that, that of course would scare any parent that could possibly happen, and they'd have to defend their choices and have someone looking at that in that way. But, so for 2 months, we're sitting here thinking like, oh my gosh, we got CPS called on us, and we're taking her off of pharmaceuticals, and we don't even see that it's working. And then it was boom, like a light switch flipped or something, because we just started seeing one sign after another that things were improving, and it just continues to improve here still 5 years later.
Awesome. Yeah. So let me ask you this, like you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but I mean, I think it's like anything, right? There are people who do good. And then there are people who do a disservice in any industry around any product. I mean, I think the internet's kind of like actually helping us to see that, right? There's good information, there's mediocre information, there's poor information, but it must be same with the product quality here too, right? Like if I can buy something on a drugstore shelf, if I can buy something on Amazon, and I can buy something from you guys or other high quality, producers of different types of products, what should consumers' knowledge around that really be, right? Like, are all those things the same, or is there a big difference between what I get at, the drugstore versus what I can buy from you guys?
There actually is. And we can definitely, I mean, that's a whole other episode in and of itself, to be perfectly honest, like things to look out and to check for. But there's been a lot of independent studies. There's been a lot of investigative reporting that some news outlets have done, and they've taken products off the shelf and they've sent them off for testing. And the sad thing is there'll be numbers that are on the front of the bottle claiming, so many milligrams of CBD. And whenever the test comes back, there's nothing in there. It's premium priced. And so no CBD, or the level of CBD that's supposed to be in there isn't in there, or it will test positive for toxic chemicals. And so there's so many things that consumers, you really do have to do your research with this. And I know everybody's, if you do want to try it, if you're deciding to jump out of that not taking CBD into the taking CBD bucket, you want to do your research, right? You want to be able to feel comfortable with the people and the product that you're purchasing. And honestly, word of mouth is the best way to go, right? So talk to your friends that are taking it. There are more out there than what you think.
Absolutely. So it's really important then that the consumer understand where their product's coming from, because what you're saying is like there's not regulation around this. It's not
right.
It's not like food.
Right.
So
I think the biggest thing to that is, if I could say one thing, is Amazon does not sell CBD products. They are labeled to make you think that they're CBD products, but they are not. They're hemp seed oil, and the labeling is intentionally misleading. It's a big issue that's very well known, and a lot of people still fall for it because it's cheap. It's cheaper than a quality CBD product would be, but it's a hell of a lot more expensive than hemp seed oil would be in a 1 ounce container. Or, you could get a stinking gallon of it for the price that you'll pay on Amazon. And that's what you're getting is hemp seed oil. That's been intentionally mislabeled to, appear to be a CBD product. And
wow.
They don't sell CBD on Amazon.
Right. So if people are a little bit freaked out because of, maybe the cultural, view, right? Maybe they also feel like that you're saying it's a little bit of this, snake oil. Is this too good to be true? Could it really work because of people maybe having overpromised in the industry or their experiences? Like what else are you guys seeing that is preventing people from working with CBD products as a solution?
Yeah, I think there's some people that just don't realize the way that it could impact them. So they think like, I don't have severe epilepsy, or I don't have, intense chronic pain, or medication is working for me. But what they don't realize is that the benefits to CBD go far beyond that. They're extremely beneficial for preventative, just maintenance of the body, I guess. So just by taking CBD regularly, you can increase your body's ability to fight off toxins from the environment, and to calm inflammation in the neurological system, and potentially avoid neurodegenerative conditions like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. I mean, we're still studying that, and that's not a claim that I'm making. It's just the potential that looks promising for taking CBD. There's been a couple of quality studies related to that, and it looks like, for the average person, taking it preventatively is going to be more and more a common use of CBD, and just maintaining balance in the body more optimally. I mean, we all succumb to stressors and to, colds and flus, but your ability to fight those off is thought to be enhanced by CBD supplementation. I know, like, when I take it regularly, my whole family has come down with a stomach bug and I'm totally fine. And that's happened twice, so.
And I'll say we, last year, I guess if you could call it an independent study where we were all in store. So before we had, moved our office spaces, we officed behind our retail location. So we had a lot of people mulling in and around the store. Middle of flu season, we had customers coming in with flu, we'd wipe things down and so forth. But none of the employees got a flu shot, and none of us also got the flu. So I'm not saying that it can keep the flu away, but I'm saying it helped us. We are strong believers that it really did help our immune system to be in prime fighting position against all the germs that we were just being inundated with.
Or even when they're, actively, I think people don't associate CBD use with like a stomach bug or flu or something, but I've used it for my son. In fact, 2 days ago, he woke up in the middle of the night rolling around with a upset stomach. And I gave him a few drops and, 15, 20 minutes later, he went to sleep peacefully and he was totally fine. And so I think, there's just uses that people don't recognize for CBD that would very much benefit them that they're just not really aware of yet.
That's fascinating because I don't think that people think about it for prevention as much as we've heard so much in the media, amazing stories like the ones that you guys, have shared with us here about people that have had massive sea changes in really severe conditions that were impairing their lives in really significant ways and the lives of their family. But I don't think that we've yet come to think about it as a preventative so much, and it's making me think of a baby aspirin, honestly, right? Like, back in the day, aspirin was like, sold out of in little special little vials by kind of a witch doctor-y guy, in the Old West or whatever. Then it becomes, largely accepted for headache relief or for pain relief. And now it's prescribed to help people, in stroke and like heart attack prevention, I think it is, right? Like they carry this little vial of it. Of the baby aspirin. And it's like, but 100 years ago, man, I don't know, or maybe 200 years ago, whenever it was, we wouldn't have admitted that we had that little brown vial with a cork in our handbag, right?
And what's so interesting is then you think about that, and then, 40%, give or take, of medications back in those olden days had a cannabis derivative, right? So then you think about, you went from cannabis being part of a widely accepted pharmaceutical regimen or therapeutic regimen, and flip that to reefer madness years, right? You get to the 1930s, and then they have to have some bad guy that they're going after, to 80 years of prohibition to where we are today, right? Where we're trying to beat that stigma, to bring it back to just a normal way to kind of help fight symptoms.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys, when you think of someone that you have worked with that's been like your ultimate skeptic, right, that maybe presented with, one of these reasons for not doing it and is now just like a raving fan, do you have somebody like that you can think of?
I was going to say, for a while, there was probably every consumer that walked in our store, right, Jess?
Everyone. Yeah, I've heard this will help, but come on, kind of reactions. And then,
we had a gentleman actually who came in store, and I don't necessarily know that he meets this criteria, but he came in store and he bought it. He said he had arthritis in his ankle. It hurt so bad. And we told him it's going to take time. You have to give it its true test. You can't just give up after a few days. And he came in on day 30 and he said, it was day 29. I was so angry because my ankle was still killing me. I was taking this product. It wasn't working. He said, I knew I was going to come in today and I was just going to talk to you about it. And he said, and then I woke up and I got out of bed and my ankle didn't hurt. And I was like, Yes. So again, it's just those things. Everybody sees relief at different times. And he's an advocate for it. We had I think Jessica actually talked with a veteran who'd had, 7 years of headaches?
Well, that's the story I was wanting to tell, actually.
Yeah.
Because that definitely sticks out in my mind. Because, yes, I had talked to him both in store and on the phone, and he was certainly a skeptic. We talked on the phone at length a few times before he came in, and he had 7 years of chronic migraines that were extremely severe. He ranked as 11 on the 1 to 10 pain scale, and he had 0 days of relief in those 7 years. And so he was really at the end of his will to continue, and it was really powerful because he came in the store after talking for a while. It was still extremely kind of skeptical, I guess is the word. And so I could see he was in pain. I gave him a sample in store, and before he had left, his headache had gone down. I think he said it was like an 8 or something like that. And so for him, that was already a big deal. Mm-hmm. And then when he got home, he called to let me know his headache was gone for the first time in 7 years, day one. And he maintained a headache-free self. He was headache-free for, I can't honestly say if he's still headache-free, but I talked to him months and months afterwards, and he was still headache-free at that point. And I know he's still a recurring customer who comes in, who orders online. And the amount of relief that it provided him immediately was a really powerful thing to witness. And it was really changing, for him. He was facing just giving up on life, and and that really brought back everything for him. So
well, and that just makes me think about the perspective of what if, what if, right? Yep. What if it does work?
Yep.
Right. What if it does?
Yep.
So thank you both for just sharing such awesome information today around, some of these stigmas and helping people to maybe break those down a little bit so that they can live a better quality of life. Because I think that's the goal, right? That's really what you're trying to do here, is share great information with people so that they can consider whether or not this might be an option that they would allow to help them in their lives. So if people wanted to connect with you further, get more information, hear more about your knowledge, your products, all of that, what would be the best place for them to go and find out more?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to our website at bluegrasshempoil.com. We send out biweekly newsletters. So register, subscribe for a newsletter, go to our Facebook page, engage with our posts, or engage with the other consumers that are there as well. And ask them the questions too, right? That's what they're there for.
Awesome.
Yeah, read some of the, I'm blanking on the word.
Blogs?
Yeah, definitely read the blogs. Those are fantastic and really address some of the frequently asked questions. But the consumer reviews, I think a lot of people read the reviews and they see in that person something that reflects themselves, and it really strikes home for them. So I think read the reviews. They really speak for themselves.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, for this episode of Full Spectrum Living with CBD, I'm your co-host Meredith with our hosts Jessica and Adrienne. It's been awesome sharing with you guys, and we'll see you all around the next time.
Bye.
Bye.